vlogs, I spoke about why we can see God, and I mentioned the story of Prophet Muhammad and what's called Al-Mi'raj, when he ascended to heaven. And in the journey he met with prophets, Prophet Jesus, Moses, Abraham. So one thing, a little thing from this story that I would like to highlight. So we Muslims blame the Jews for a few things. So for a change, why don't we find something nice and be thankful to the Jews for it? And that's related to the daily prayers. As you may know, Muslims pray 5 times a day. If it wasn't for the Jews, Muslims would have to pray 50 times a day. And I think a lot of Muslims, majority of them, know the story that when Prophet Muhammad ascended in the Mi'raj, which was almost a decade after the first revelation came to him, when he had this mystical meeting with God, God ordered him to pray, and all Muslims to pray 50 times a day. So imagine 50 times. Each prayer has its own rituals. You have to do the wudu before the ablution. You have to wash parts of your body before the prayer. So the initial order was 50 times. Then Prophet Muhammad left this mystical, meeting with God, and then on his way back he met with Prophet Moses again, and Prophet Musa asked him what happened. So Prophet Muhammad told him about the new ritual, the 50 daily prayers. So Prophet Musa told Muhammad, you know what, based on my experience with my people, the Jews, your people will not be able to handle that. So please go back to Allah, go back to God, and ask him to reduce the number. So Prophet Muhammad returned and asked for a reduction. So it was reduced to half of it. So 25 prayers per day. Prophet Muhammad didn't argue, so he went back and he met with his brother Musa. So Musa told him, no, your people won't even be able to handle 25 a day. Go back and ask for a reduction. So Prophet Muhammad went back and they were reduced to almost half again, I think, as the story goes. So maybe 12 prayers per day or something. Prophet Muhammad went back and Musa told him, no, your people will not be able to handle that. So ask for more reduction. So Prophet Muhammad went back and Allah said, okay, it's going to be 5 prayers per day, but the reward will be 50. So 5 for the reward of 50, which is a good deal. So Prophet Muhammad went back, and Prophet Musa even tried to convince him to ask for more reduction, but he said, no, that's too much. So from 50 to 5, that's good enough. So imagine now if we had to pray 50 times or 25 times a day. Many Muslims already have trouble praying 5 times a day. So imagine if it was 25 or 50. So we basically have to thank the Jews for that, because they went through this first with Musa, and Prophet Moses, based on his experience and how hard the rituals can be on people, he figured out that people cannot handle this much rituals. And it's Musa, the prophet of the Jews. He's the one who encouraged Prophet Muhammad to ask for a reduction. And Muslims believe that. I'm not talking to non-Muslims who don't even believe in these stories, but that's for Muslims who believe in that. So that's something to be thankful to the Jews for. So whenever you think about the number of daily prayers, that's something that we can be thankful for. And our cousins and our brothers and sisters that were with Musa alayhi salam, and the lessons that he learned from his experience with them, resulted in the reduction for us in the number of daily prayers. And sometimes that's just how it happens. The earlier generations usually have it harder sometimes than the later generations. And I think that's something that's mentioned in the Quran, that each prophet, each community, they had their own orders, their own obligations, and then in the later time, God made things easier. So for the time of Musa alayhi salam, the Jews had harder rules, and then they were made easier. Like, for example, kosher food is harder than halal food in many ways. Like we Muslims can eat shrimp, for example. Any Jew who follow the kosher diet cannot eat shrimp or other types of seafood that we Muslims are allowed to eat. And that's just a light note on that we can learn from the journey of Prophet Muhammad to the heavens and from the daily prayers. And I think also what I'm trying to say is, let's find something positive about each other, whether it's about Muslims, about Jews, about Christians. There will always be we will always be able to find something positive to talk about and to think about. And see you in my next vlog.